Welcome in and welcome back to the channel. Today's Samuel's History Snips is strategically timed to match up with the occurrence of one of the most epic moments in Winter Olympic history, the infamous success of the U.S. ice hockey team in the 1980 Winter Olympics. Most focus is only placed on the single game of Team USA versus the Soviet Union, but in reality there was a lot more behind this historical event. Let's delve into this Olympics and check all the aspects. The ice hockey games of the 1980 Winter Olympics were held in Lake Placid, New York between February 12th and February 24th, 1980. Leading up to these games, the Soviet Union had won gold medals in 5 of the 6 prior Olympic Games, 1956, 64, 68, 72, and 76. So they were favored to win in these games as well. A bit of controversy surrounded the Soviets' ability to use full-time, as in non-amateur, athletes, while every other country had to follow the rules that were set by the International Olympic Committee, to use only amateur, mainly college, athletes. How, you ask? Well, the Soviets were able to classify their full-time athletes as amateurs because their athletes did not receive a salary for playing sports, due to the fact that they were supported by the state in positions such as military. As a result, they were able to train together 90% of the year to develop a really strong, cohesive team. The teams of Western countries consisted mainly of college and recreational players who had to fit training in very small pockets of time between their other jobs. The Soviets were led by legendary players in world ice hockey, including team captain Boris Mikhailov, an extraordinary right-winger. The United States team was led by head coach Herb Brooks. Brooks held tryouts in Colorado Springs in the summer of 1979. 68 players began the tryout process. This process consisted of a 300-question psychological test that would give the coach insight on how every player would react under stress. So anyone who refused to take the test would automatically fail. Only 20 players passed this selection exam and made the team. There were 12 teams split into 2 divisions for the games. The 6 teams in the blue division were Sweden, United States, Czechoslovakia, Romania, West Germany, and Norway. They played 15 games over 5 days that you can see here. There were 3 games on the 12th of February, with Czechoslovakia beating out Norway, Romania beating out West Germany, and Sweden and the United States tying. 3 games on February 14th, Romania lost to Sweden, Norway lost to West Germany, and the United States won over Czechoslovakia. 16th of February, the United States won over Norway, Romania lost to Czechoslovakia, and Sweden won over West Germany. The 18th of February, Norway lost to Sweden, West Germany lost to Czechoslovakia, and the United States won over Romania. 20th of February, Norway and Romania tied, Czechoslovakia lost to Sweden, and West Germany lost to the United States. The 6 teams in the red division were the Soviet Union, Finland, Canada, Poland, the Netherlands, and Japan. They also played 15 games over 5 days, and their games were as follows. On the 12th of February, the Netherlands lost to Canada, Poland won over Finland, Japan lost to the Soviet Union, complete shutout. On the 14th of February, the Netherlands lost to the Soviet Union, Poland lost to Canada, and Japan lost to Finland. The 16th of February, Japan and the Netherlands tied. Soviet Union won over Poland, and Canada lost to Finland. The 18th of February, Canada won over Japan. The Netherlands won over Poland. Finland lost to the Soviet Union. Then on the 20th of February, Poland won over Japan. Soviet Union won over Canada, and Finland won over the Netherlands. On February 22nd, there was a consolation round in which the third-place teams from each division of the red and the blue division played each other to determine fifth place. That game was held on February 22nd, and Czechoslovakia beat Canada 6-1. Period 3. Hat trick. The final round. The final round of Olympic hockey commenced on Friday, February 22nd, 1980. The top two teams from each group played the top two teams from the other group once. The U.S., Sweden, and the Soviet Union and Finland results from the first round carried over to this round. So the game from February 12th, Sweden versus USA, they tied. And then the results from February 18th, Finland versus the USSR, and the USSR won 4-2. Prior to the Friday game, the news channel ABC requested that it be rescheduled from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so that it could be broadcast live in prime time. But the International Ice Hockey Foundation declined the request after the Soviets complained that it would cause the game to air at 4 a.m. Moscow time as opposed to 1 a.m. So as a result, ABC decided not to broadcast the game live for the U.S. audience, and they tape delayed it for broadcast that would be shown during its primetime block that they already had scheduled for Olympics coverage. Before the game, Coach Brooks read his players a statement he had written out on a piece of paper, telling them that you were born to be a player. You were meant to be here. This moment is yours. Brooks wanted his team to play short shifts lasting 40 seconds or less in order to stay energized by the third period, because he knew this was a really important game. He instructed the team physician to track the ice time for all the players, and that physician later joked that he never got to even see the game because he was focused on his stopwatch the entire time to make sure that they only played 40 seconds or less so that they wouldn't get worn out by the third period. So at the end of the first period, the score was tied 2-2. Then in the second period, the Soviets scored a goal to make the score 2-3, 2 USA, 3 Soviet Union. In the third period, USA scored again, bringing the score tied 3-3. Then, with 10 minutes left in the game, the U.S. scored again, bringing the score 4 USA, 3 Soviet Union. The remaining 10 minutes of the game were considered by many Americans as the longest 10 minutes of their lives. The final seconds of the game were actually counted down by the crowd and by the ABC announcer, sportscaster Al Michaels, and former Montreal Canadiens goaltender Ken Dryden. 11 seconds! You've got 10 seconds! The countdown going on right now! Morrow, up to Silk, 5 seconds left in the game! Dryden, it's over! Do you believe in miracles? Yes! That was the ending of that game against the Soviet Union from the United States. It ended the game 4-3 with the United States winning out over Soviet Union. The other game that was being played that same day was the other matchup, Finland versus Sweden, and that game ended in a 3-3 tie. Now this win by the United States is not what earned Team USA the gold medal. Both teams still had another game to play. In fact, at this point, the USA still might have placed as low as 4th place. They were scheduled to play Finland on Sunday, February 24th, while the Soviet Union would play Sweden. If the USA beat Finland, they would earn the gold. After the second period in that game, USA was behind 1-2 to Finland. During the second intermission, Coach Brooks had some choice words and gave the team a harsh talking to in the dressing room. Some some expletive deleted dialogue. Team USA then went out and scored 3 goals in the third period to claim the win against Finland. So that game ended. United States had 4 points. Finland had 2. The other game that was being played, the Soviet Union versus Sweden, Soviet Union did win that game 9-2. The USA was successful in securing gold and subsequently named Sportsman of the Year on the March 3rd, 1980 Sports Illustrated magazine. Alternately, the Soviet players were so upset at their silver medal that they did not turn in their medals to get their names inscribed on them, which is customary. The result stunned the Soviet media, who avoided covering the event. This underdog win by Team USA also secured a place in mainstream pop culture. Many movies were made and documentaries about the event. The first was a made-for-TV movie for ABC in 1981 called Miracle on Ice. It incorporated actual game footage and original commentary from the 1980 Winter Games. In 2004, Walt Disney Pictures put out a film called Miracle, which starred Kurt Russell as Coach Brooks. In that movie, Al Michaels recreated his commentary during most of the game footage. But the final 10 seconds and his "Do you believe in miracles? Yes" call were actually from the original broadcast and used in the film because the filmmakers felt that they could not ask him to recreate the emotion that he felt in that moment of the games. The film was actually dedicated to Coach Brooks, who died shortly after principal photography completed, so he never got to see the film. The event was even featured in an X-Files episode, Season 4, Episode 7. The cigarette-smoking man reveals that he had rigged the game by injecting the goaltender with a small amount of Novocaine, saying, "What's the matter? Don't you believe in miracles?" There have been several documentary films about the event. HBO released Do You Believe in Miracles? The Story of the 1980 U.S. Hockey Team, which is narrated by Liev Schreiber in 2001. Not surprisingly, ESPN released Of Miracles and Men in 2015. This documentary is told from the Soviet perspective instead of the U.S. perspective. Not to be left out, Netflix jumped in on the hubbub, and in 2026 they released never-before-seen footage, as well as interviews and a reunion of most of the living members of the team. Today, 46 years later, it is still lauded as one of the most epic events of the Olympic Games and even sports in general. The International Ice Hockey Federation considers Miracle on Ice the best international ice hockey story of their past 100 years. Sports Illustrated lists it as the top sports moment of the entire 20th century. So have you seen the game or footage or any of the films? How much of the history of this game did you know before this video? Do you even like hockey? Comment below and tell us all. Click like, subscribe, and the notification bell for our content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.